She dumped me because I was broke. Now she wants me back. Hi everyone. Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. I never thought I'd be writing this story, but here we are. 3 years ago, I was just another broke college dropout, working night shifts at a 24-hour diner, dreaming of something bigger, but not really knowing how to get there. Today, I'm sitting in my downtown loft, looking at a text message that just turned my world upside down. Hey, I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Can we talk? The message is from Sarah. The same Sarah who told me I was going nowhere fast before walking out of my life forever. Or so I thought. Let me take you back to the beginning because this story doesn't make sense without context. I met Sarah 3 years ago at a coffee shop near campus. I was there with my laptop, working on some freelance web design projects, trying to scrape together enough money for rent. She was with her friends, laughing about something, and when our eyes met across the room, I swear time stopped. She was beautiful in that effortless way that some people just have. Long auburn hair, these incredible green eyes, and this smile that could light up a room. But it wasn't just her looks. There was something magnetic about her confidence, the way she carried herself like she owned the world. I worked up the courage to buy her a coffee. We talked for hours. She was studying marketing, had these big dreams about working for some prestigious agency in New York. She was ambitious, driven, knew exactly what she wanted out of life. I told her about my web design work, how I was building up a client base, how I believed technology was going to change everything. That's really cool, she said, but I caught something in her eyes. A flicker of doubt, maybe? Like she was trying to be supportive but wasn't quite convinced. We started dating a week later. The first few months were incredible. She was everything I thought I wanted in a partner. Smart, funny, ambitious. We'd stay up all night talking about our dreams, our fears, our plans for the future. She'd watch me work on coding projects, ask questions, seem genuinely interested in what I was building. But slowly, things started to change. It started with little comments. Maybe you should think about going back to school, she'd say, while I was debugging code at 2 a.m. I mean, web design is nice as a hobby, but you need something stable. Or, my friend Jessica's boyfriend just got promoted to regional manager. They're looking at houses already. I tried to brush it off. Sarah came from money. Not rich, but comfortable. Her parents had paid for her education, helped her with rent, bought her a reliable car. She'd never had to choose between groceries and utilities. She'd never had to explain to a landlord why rent was going to be 3 days late. I was living in a studio apartment above a Chinese restaurant. The smell of Kung Pao chicken was permanently embedded in my walls. My car was a 15-year-old Honda with a door that only opened from the outside. My furniture came from garage sales and Facebook Marketplace. But I was building something. Every day, I was getting better at coding, landing bigger clients, learning about business and marketing and sales. It was slow, sure, but I could see the progress. I was making $800 one month, $1,200 the next, then $1,500. It wasn't much, but it was growing. Sarah didn't see it that way. You're 24, she said one night after we'd had dinner at a restaurant where I'd carefully calculated that I could afford exactly one entree and no appetizer. Most guys your age have real jobs, real prospects. What happens if your computer breaks? What happens if clients stop calling? You can't build a future on maybes. That stung, but I tried to explain. This isn't just some side hustle, Sarah. I'm building a business. I have 5 regular clients now, and I'm working on launching my own software product. Give me 2 years and... 2 years? She interrupted. I can't wait 2 years for you to maybe figure it out. I want to travel. I want to live somewhere nice. I want to be able to go out to dinner without counting dollars. I want security. The fights got worse. Every time I landed a new client or made progress on my software, she'd find something wrong with it. That client only paid you $500 for a week's work. You could make more at McDonald's. Or, software products fail all the time. You're gambling with your future. Meanwhile, she started mentioning other guys more often. There's this guy in my study group, Marcus. He's got an internship at Goldman Sachs lined up. Or, my friend's brother just bought a condo, he works in finance. I should have seen it coming, but I was blind. I loved her, and I thought love was enough. The end came on a Tuesday night in March. I'd been working on a big project for weeks, a complete website redesign for a local business. It was my biggest contract yet, $5,000, and I was so proud. I wanted to take Sarah out to celebrate, somewhere nice for once. She met me at my apartment, and I could tell immediately that something was wrong. She looked around my tiny studio like she was seeing it for the first time, really seeing it. The fold-out couch that doubled as my bed. The makeshift desk made from a door and 2 sawhorses. The single pot I used for everything because I couldn't afford a proper cookware set. "We need to talk," she said. My stomach dropped. "About what?" She sat down on my couch but perched on the edge like she was ready to run. "This isn't working, Jake. Us, I mean. We want different things." "What do you mean?" I thought. "You're never going to amount to anything," she said, and her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "I've been patient. I've been supportive. But you're still living in the same crappy apartment, working the same dead-end projects, dreaming the same impossible dreams." "I just landed a $5,000 contract," I said weakly. $5,000, she repeated. "That's what, 3 months' rent? 4? Jake, normal people our age are getting real jobs, building careers, planning futures. You're playing video games with websites. It's not playing games, it's... I met someone," she said, cutting me off. The words hung in the air between us. I felt like I couldn't breathe. "His name is Marcus. He's the guy from my study group I mentioned. He just got offered a position at Goldman Sachs. 6-figure starting salary, full benefits, stock options. He's everything you're not." I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "So this is about money. It's about stability. It's about having a partner who can actually be a partner. Someone who can split bills and plan vacations and think about buying a house someday. Someone who has their life together. And I don't." "No," she said, standing up. "You don't. And I can't keep pretending that's okay." She left that night, and I didn't try to stop her. I was too stunned, too hurt, too angry. I sat in my tiny apartment surrounded by all the things she'd just told me were evidence of my failure, and I wanted to disappear. For 2 weeks, I barely left the apartment. I turned down client calls, ignored emails, lived on ramen and self-pity. I stalked her social media like a masochist, watching her post pictures with Marcus. Him in his expensive suits, her in dresses that probably cost more than my monthly income. They looked perfect together. But then something shifted. I was looking at a photo of them at some fancy restaurant, the kind of place she always wanted me to take her. And instead of feeling sorry for myself, I got angry. Really angry. She was wrong. She had to be wrong. I closed the laptop, looked around my apartment, and made a decision. I was going to prove her wrong, not because I wanted her back, but because I needed to prove it to myself. I threw myself into work like a man possessed. I took on every project I could find, no matter how small or tedious. I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I learned new programming languages, studied business strategy, read everything I could about successful entrepreneurs. The software product I'd been working on, a simple project management tool for small businesses, became my obsession. Every free moment went into building it, testing it, improving it. I lived on coffee and determination. Month by month, my client base grew. 2,000 a month became 3,000, then 5,000, then 8,000. I hired my first contractor, then my second. I moved out of the apartment above the Chinese restaurant into a real one-bedroom place. But the real breakthrough came 8 months after Sarah left. I launched my software product, which I called TaskFlow, and within the first month it had 500 users. Within 3 months, 2,000. I started charging a monthly subscription fee, and suddenly I was making more in passive income than I'd ever made from client work. A year after the launch, TaskFlow had 15,000 users and was generating $50,000 a month in revenue. I hired a small team, moved into a proper office space, started getting featured in tech blogs. I won't lie, there were nights when I almost broke down. The stress was incredible. There were weeks when I was working so hard I forgot to eat, forgot to sleep, forgot that there was a world outside of code and spreadsheets and user acquisition metrics. But every time I wanted to quit, I thought about that night in my apartment. I thought about Sarah looking around like my life was pathetic. I thought about her words, "You're never going to amount to anything." 2 years after she left, TaskFlow was acquired by a major tech company for $2 million. I kept 60 ownership and stayed on as CTO. Overnight, I went from broke to wealthy. Not just comfortable, actually wealthy. I bought a downtown loft, a nice car, started investing in other startups. But the weirdest thing was, I didn't feel different. I was still the same guy who'd been coding in that studio apartment. I still ate ramen sometimes because I actually liked it. I still shopped at thrift stores because I found cool stuff there. Money didn't change who I was. It just gave me options. Which brings me back to that text message. I hadn't heard from Sarah since the night she left, except for seeing her posts on social media. From what I could tell, things with Marcus hadn't worked out. There were fewer photos of them together, then none at all. Her posts became less frequent, less cheerful. I'll admit, part of me was curious about what happened, but I'd moved on. I was dating other people, focusing on my work, building my life. Sarah felt like a character from someone else's story. Until 3 days ago, when my phone buzzed with her message. "Hey, I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I put the phone down and went back to work. She texted again the next day. "I know this is random, but I'd really like to see you. I have some things I want to say." And then, "I heard about TaskFlow. That's incredible, Jake. I always knew you were special." That last message made me laugh out loud. She always knew I was special? Really? But curiosity got the better of me. After 3 days of internal debate, I agreed to meet her for coffee. The same coffee shop where we'd first met, actually. She suggested it, and I thought there was something poetic about that. I got there first and found a table in the back. I was nervous, which surprised me. 3 years later, and she could still affect me like that. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked older, tired somehow. Still beautiful, but there was something different in her eyes. Less confidence, less certainty. "Jake," she said, sitting down across from me. Wow, you look really good." "Thanks," I said. "You too." We made small talk for a few minutes. How was work? How was life? The usual catch-up conversation. But I could tell she had something specific she wanted to say. Finally, she took a deep breath. "I owe you an apology," she said. I waited. What I said that night, when I left. It was cruel. It was wrong. You were building something amazing, and I was too short-sighted to see it. "Okay," I said. "I've thought about you so much over the past 3 years. About us, about what we had. I made a huge mistake, Jake. The biggest mistake of my life." She told me about Marcus, how their relationship had fallen apart within a year, how he'd turned out to be controlling and dismissive, how his money hadn't bought them happiness, how she'd realized that financial security meant nothing without genuine connection. "You were right," she said. "About following your dreams, about building something meaningful. I should have supported you instead of tearing you down." I listened to all of this, trying to figure out how I felt. There was a time when hearing these words would have meant everything to me. When I would have given anything for her to realize she was wrong, to want me back. "I know I hurt you," she continued, "and I know I don't deserve it, but I was hoping. Maybe we could try again? Start fresh? I'm different now, I promise. I understand what's really important." She reached across the table and touched my hand. "I never stopped loving you, Jake. Not really." I looked at her hand on mine and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not longing. Just nothing. "Sarah," I said gently, pulling my hand away. "I appreciate you saying all of this. I really do." and I forgive you for what happened before." Her face lit up with hope. "But I can't do this," I continued. The hope faded. "Why not? Is there someone else?" "It's not about someone else," I said. "It's about me. The person I was 3 years ago, the one who loved you desperately and would have done anything to make you happy, he's gone. The pain of losing you, of having you tell me I was worthless, it changed me. It made me stronger, but it also made me realize something important." I leaned back in my chair. "You didn't leave me because I was broke, Sarah. You left me because you didn't believe in me. When things got hard, when my future was uncertain, you bailed. You chose security over love, money over loyalty, and now that I've succeeded, now that the risk has paid off, you want back in." "That's not fair," she said. "I was young. I was scared." "We were both young," I interrupted. "But I chose to believe in us, in our future together, even when it looked impossible. You chose to believe in Goldman Sachs." She was quiet for a long moment. "So that's it? You'll never forgive me?" "I already told you I do forgive you, but forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And it's definitely not the same as wanting to try again." I stood up to leave, then paused. "You know what the funny thing is? If you had stayed, if you had believed in me, we probably would have made it. Not because of the money, but because we would have been a team. We would have built something together." "We could still build something," she said desperately. I shook my head. "No, we can't, because I don't trust you anymore. And more than that, I don't need you anymore. 3 years ago, I thought I needed you to be complete. Now I know I was complete all along." I left her sitting there and walked out into the afternoon sun. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, a woman I'd been seeing for a few months. She was a teacher, kind and supportive and completely unimpressed by my money. She loved me for who I was, not what I could provide. "How did it go?" she texted. "Better than expected," I typed back. "I'll tell you about it over dinner. My treat." "Your treat is always my treat when you cook," she replied with a laughing emoji. "But I'll bring wine." That made me smile. Emma had been to my loft plenty of times, but her favorite nights were when I cooked ramen in my tiny kitchen while she graded papers at my dining room table. She didn't need expensive restaurants or fancy vacations to be happy. She needed presence, attention, genuine connection. Everything Sarah had claimed to want, but had never actually valued when she had it. As I walked home, I thought about the man I'd become over the past 3 years. The success was nice, sure, but that wasn't the real victory. The real victory was discovering that I didn't need anyone else's validation to know my worth. I didn't need Sarah's approval, or her regret, or her desire to try again. I loved her once, deeply and completely. But I loved who I became without her even more. And that, I realized, was the best revenge of all. Not making her want me back, but genuinely not needing her to. 3 years ago, losing Sarah felt like the end of the world. Today, I understood it was actually the beginning of mine. My phone buzzed with another message from Emma. "Also, I'm proud of you for facing this. Whatever happened, I know it wasn't easy." I typed back, "It was easier than I thought it would be. Can't wait to see you tonight." And for the first time in 3 years, when I thought about that night in my studio apartment, when Sarah told me I'd never amount to anything, I felt grateful. Because she was wrong about everything except one thing. I did change. I became the man I was always meant to be.